He'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
What's up, Mavs fans? Welcome into today's show where I'm going to be previewing the game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Milwaukee Bucks. This game's taking place on Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN, so that way all of us will get to watch it no matter what streaming service you usually use. It's going to be a regular TV, nationally televised game. So if you're one of my overseas watchers, appreciate you either getting up early or staying up late with me and being able to watch this game. I'll have a post game for you as always. But let's get into the news and talk about the game as a whole. Now, neither the Bucks nor the Mavs submitted an injury report at 12:30 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, which they're not required to do. They will submit one later on, but I don't expect any changes for the Dallas Mavericks. I think the 5 guys that are currently out for health and safety protocols will continue to miss this game. Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell, and Jalen Brunson. However, one of those 3 guys that were in the initial group that are still back in Denver, Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Jalen Brunson, whichever one tested negative and is only out for contact tracing, could hypothetically return to this game, as this would be their 7th day of quarantine. Now, the rumor is that one player would be Jalen Brunson, but nothing is confirmed at this time. And also, I'm going to be honest, I don't expect any of them to play, as they have not practiced since entering quarantine. So I'm going to operate under the assumption of this preview that none of those guys will become available. And in all honesty, it's going to be pretty important about really 2 of those 5 that they're not playing. Now, for the Milwaukee Bucks, again, no real injury report. However, Torrey Craig on New Year's Eve was out due to nose surgery, I think, and he was supposed to be out for at least 2 weeks. This game will be 2 weeks in 1 day, basically removed from when he initially got put on the injury report. So no report whether or not he'll return. He did not play in their game against Detroit on Wednesday night, so I don't expect him to play against the Mavs, and if he does, he'll be wearing a face mask. He'll look like basically Rip Hamilton of the Detroit Pistons. If you guys know who that is, then you're old enough to be here. Now, let's talk about the Bucks, because I like to talk about the other teams in these previews. Because if you're watching, you're probably already a Mavs fan. You probably already know what's going on with the Mavs. I'll talk about them too a little bit. But I do want to talk about the Bucks as a whole, because yes, they're a great team. And yes, I consider them to be the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference, or at least be in the Eastern Conference Finals, along with probably now the Brooklyn Nets. But I'm going to be honest here. They haven't beaten anybody this season. Literally nobody impressive have they beaten except the Miami Heat one time. They blew the Golden State Warriors out of the water. They defeated Miami. They defeated the Chicago Bulls, who the Mavs have also beaten. They beat the Detroit Pistons 3 times. So they played the Pistons 3 times. That's basically an automatically guaranteed 3 wins. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then they beat the Orlando Magic. I'm not really giving a round of applause to them for beating any of these teams except the Heat, who are solid, but they haven't even been all that good this year. Now, they do have 4 losses, so they are now 6-4, I believe, or 8-4, excuse me, in the Eastern Conference. And their 4 losses came against Boston. Remember, that was Christmas Day. That was the game in which, I think that was Christmas Day, or that was their first game. I can't remember which one it was. They lost 122-121 because Giannis missed a clutch free throw at the very end that would have tied it. They lost to the New York Knicks by 20 points. 130-110. Now, New York is better than they were, but I believe they're back under 500 and things are kind of coming back down to earth for them. And then they played Miami again. So they've played Miami twice. They're 1-1 against them. They were in back-to-back games. The second game, they lost 119-108. And then they lost to the Utah Jazz, who's honestly probably the best team they've played outside of Boston. And they lost to them 131-118. So while this Milwaukee team is really, really good in terms of talent and in terms of having star power in Giannis and Middleton and Drew Holiday, they haven't really got a chance to prove themselves yet. I think basically Dallas is probably going to be the best team they would have faced. Now, they are 5-1 at home, which is notable because they're playing in Milwaukee for this game. Although fans and home team, besides travel, it really doesn't make a huge difference this year just because the energy of the crowd isn't there. But that travel and that familiarity of your home court always helps. Now, much like Dallas, Milwaukee is coming in on a win streak of their own. They're coming in on a 3-game win streak. Dallas, obviously, on a 4-game win streak. But here's their wins in that streak. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Orlando Magic, and the Detroit Pistons. Now, I'm not saying Dallas's 4-game win streak is all that impressive either, because it's not crazy impressive, but they did beat up on the Houston Rockets. They beat Chicago Bulls. They beat the Orlando the Orlando Magic. They didn't beat the Chicago Bulls. I can't remember who all they won against, and then they just won last night against the Charlotte Hornets. But again, that win streak, it's going to have to come to an end eventually, and it's either coming to an end for the Mavs or it's coming to an end for Milwaukee. Now, you guys probably already know this, but Giannis is by far the biggest problem on this Bucks team. He's averaging 26 points per game, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 block shot, and 1 steal per game, shooting 52% from the field, but as you know, he still can't shoot a three-pointer. He's shooting 29% from 3 this season. It just hasn't improved, and I'm not sure it will. Now, obviously, the hashtag Giannis to Dallas dream is dead, so I don't really care how the Mavs treat him in this game. If they want to give him a couple hard fouls, throw James Johnson in there to kind of scare him from coming back into the paint, I'm okay with that. We don't have to keep him happy anymore because there's no chance he's coming to Dallas. But the reason I'm most scared of Giannis for this game is because we don't have 2 very important players that would usually be guarding a guy of Giannis's caliber. Maxi Kleber and Dorian Finney-Smith. No matter what, we're not going to have Maxi. And I'm 99.99999% sure we're not going to have Dorian Finney-Smith. So who the heck is going to guard him? Is it Kristaps Porzingis? I think that'll work for a little bit, but remember, Porzingis is on a minutes restriction. Now, he always plays well against the Bucks, and I'll talk about that here more in just a moment, but KP's probably going to get the starting assignment against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do the Mavs go to a zone where they just kind of force Giannis to take a 3 and they don't let him into the paint by putting Porzingis and Cauley-Stein down low? I think that's your best course of action, but there's a reason I'm not a head coach and I'm not making these calls. I don't really have a good answer for Giannis, but I don't think anybody in the league has a good answer for Giannis. I'm going to guess that Porzingis and Cauley-Stein down low is, again, really the only somewhat answer the Mavs will have for Giannis if he drives every single time. And you force him to go to the free throw line or you force him to settle for 3-point jumpers. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, speaking of Giannis and Milwaukee, and Porzingis and Cauley-Stein, I want to get into the starting 5 for each of these teams because, again, Dallas is going to have to make some adjustments in the starting 5 without Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Maxi. And so last game, we saw them start Luka, Tim, Wesley Iwundu, Porzingis, and Cauley-Stein. Pretty solid. Obviously, it worked. The Mavs won the game. But Josh Green came in and gave you more valuable minutes than Wesley Iwundu did. And maybe it's just because he was off the bench and he got some nerves out of the way. But in all honesty, I'd rather have Josh Green in the starting 5 over Wesley Iwundu for this game. Give the rookie another shot. See what he can do. He got you 3 offensive rebounds in the last game, 5 rebounds as a whole, 5 points. Could have had 8, but he chipped a couple free throws, missed those pretty badly. But he's a great passer, and man, does he get out and run in transition. And he sets hard screens, too. That's something I didn't talk about in my post-game podcast or recap. He sets good screens for Luka. He had the best plus-minus of the game at plus 17, and a large part of that was because he was setting those screens for Luka Doncic and opening up the floor for him. Now, for the Milwaukee Bucks, I expect their starting 5 to be Jrue Holiday, Dante DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. I'll take Luka Doncic on Jrue Holiday. Sure, give me that matchup. Jrue Holiday is a good defender, but Luka has cooked him on a regular basis. Put Tim Hardaway on Dante DiVincenzo. He's not really a huge offensive threat. He's more of a hustle energy guy. I like him. He's gritty. He's a good athlete, but I'm going to put my worst defender on him, and your worst defender now is probably Tim Hardaway, which is a pretty good sign because Tim Hardaway is not a bad defender. Chris Middleton, look, if Josh Green or Wesley Iwundu are going to start, one of those two should be guarding Middleton, and I'm hoping it's Josh Green. Green is a good defender in terms of effort. The problem I have had with him in his short stints as a Maverick so far is that he kind of just jumps at any pump fake, and that gets him into foul trouble and gets him blown by on multiple times. But I think that just comes with game experience and continuing to learn. And if you're a young guy, why not match him up with an Eastern Conference All-Star like Chris Middleton? I guess put KP on Giannis and then Cauley-Stein on Lopez. I think Cauley-Stein on Lopez scares me a little bit because we saw Nikola Vucevic kind of cook Willie Cauley-Stein a couple times, and obviously that wasn't a very good Orlando team, and the Mavs still ended up winning that. But Vucevic is a lot like Lopez. He's better than Lopez, but he's a lot like him in the fact that he can stretch the floor and he gets big rebounds. So Cauley-Stein's going to have to really play well on the perimeter. I think that's going to be your biggest threat and the biggest thing to watch as a Mavs fan. Now, kind of talking about some team stats here. The Bucks are second in three-point percentage at 41.3% this year, and they're second in the league also at three-pointers made per game at 16.5. However, the Mavs are an elite defensive team. I said it once, I'll say it again. The Mavs are an elite defensive team. In fact, they are second in the NBA at three-point percentage allowed at 30.9% and third in the league in three-pointers made per game against them at just 11. So again, another great recipe for success. You got a team in Milwaukee that shoots a lot of threes and makes a lot of threes, but you got a team in Dallas that doesn't let their opponent make a lot of threes and doesn't let them make them efficiently either. That's a really good sign for the Dallas Mavericks because defense usually outweighs offense, but this Milwaukee offense is very, very potent. Now, along with their three-point percentage, that comes with high scoring as they are top of the league, the best in the NBA in points per game. They're averaging 129 points per game. But the Mavs are second in the NBA in points allowed at just 104.4. So the Mavs are allowing 104 points per game, and the Bucks are scoring 121 points per game. Somebody's going to have to win that clash of the Titans, basically, and figure out which of those two teams. Is it going to be the defense in Dallas, or is it going to be the offense in Milwaukee that comes out on top? Now, finally, again, another offensive note, second in the NBA in field goal percentage as a whole. A large part of that is because Giannis just gets to the paint and has Shaq-like numbers down low. But Dallas has the second best defensive rating in the NBA at 104.4. That's basically points allowed. That's second in the NBA only to the LA Lakers, who are at 104.6. So again, this is going to be a really good offensive team against a really good defensive team. But Milwaukee's also really good on defense. They're just not as good as Dallas. Now, take it back to last year, 2019-2020 series. Dallas swept that season series in a bit of a surprise. They played them twice, obviously, because an Eastern Conference opponent, and they won both times. That first matchup came December 16th when Dallas didn't have Luka Doncic. Their starting five was Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Kristaps Porzingis, and Dwight Powell. Now, obviously, they had Dorian in there, and they also had Jalen Brunson, but Luka's an upgrade over Jalen Brunson. Tim Hardaway is still in there, and Tim Hardaway. Josh Green, definitely a downgrade from Dorian Finney-Smith. And then you have Kristaps Porzingis, and I would take Willie Cauley-Stein over Dwight Powell. So 4 of the 5 starters that were in that last game, you're basically upgrading in that one, and then you're just replacing, and then you replace Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, Dorian and Josh Green, that's a pretty steep drop-off. I get it, but for Milwaukee, they started Giannis, DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Wes Matthews, and Brook Lopez. There was no Eric Bledsoe in that game at the time. Giannis finished with 48 points, but the Mavs had 2 guys that answered the call. Kristaps Porzingis had a huge night. If you remember, there were some outstanding plays by him. He really stepped up when the Mavs were without Luka Doncic, their MVP at the time. He had 26 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocked shots. The other guy that stepped up, though, was Seth Curry. Seth Curry, no longer with the Dallas Mavericks, had 26 points off the bench. That's something you're really going to be missing against Milwaukee is a 3-point flamethrower. But I do want to make this note as well. Justin Jackson, Courtney Lee, and DeLon Wright all played regular minutes in that game. I'm just saying. Those guys wouldn't be getting minutes on this current Dallas Maverick team. Maybe right now without 5 guys playing, but nah, I'm good. And the second game came in August. It was, of course, in the NBA bubble. Remember, that game went to overtime for the Dallas Mavericks, and they beat up on the Milwaukee Bucks in overtime. They won 136-132. Luka just went stupid in that game. 36 points, 19 assists, 14 rebounds. KP had 26 and 11, but he played 40 minutes. And then Dorian Finney-Smith played really well in that game, too. 27 points and 11 boards. Lopez had 34 and 7. But remember, Dallas didn't have Willie Cauley-Stein in the bubble, and Dwight Powell also wasn't playing. Obviously not going to be playing this game, but Maxi did play in that one. Now, this is going to be a very different Dallas team, and it's a very different Milwaukee team than the last time these two faced off. And I hate being the pessimistic Mavs fan, because as you guys know, if you are a loyal subscriber to the channel already, I'm probably one of the more optimistic Mavs fans out there. But with Porzingis being on a minutes restriction, Dallas not having their top 3 defenders, including 2 that would probably guard Giannis, and then also the fact that basically this is just a depleted Mavs team, I don't know if they're going to get the win. I'm going to be honest, my prediction is that the Mavs winning streak comes to a halt. And if that's the case, that means the stash is gone. That's the most important thing right now, is that if the Mavs lose, I will shave the mustache. If they win, we'll keep the mustache going until the Mavs finally lose a game. But hey, here's the deal. I don't think anyone should be disappointed if Dallas drops this game. If they drop the game, fine. You know what? That's an Eastern Conference final contender, and that is 4 straight wins, and then you go and you lose against a team when you don't have 5 rotation players. Should be 4, but Dwight Powell is technically still in the rotation. So you know what? If they lose, but if they're competitive, I'm happy. I think if Kristaps Porzingis didn't have a minutes restriction, and I think he will still for this game, I think Dallas could pull this off. You know, maybe if they had Dorian and Maxi, and we're just missing Richardson, Brunson, and Powell, I'd still feel okay. But no Dorian and Maxi makes this one a really tough one. So I don't think Dallas is going to win, but I'm holding out hope. I don't want them to lose. I hope I'm wrong. I love to be proved wrong about this. But I'm just going to be realistic with you guys. This is going to be a tough matchup. Because, yeah, Milwaukee's really good at offense, and Dallas is elite defensively, but Milwaukee's really good at offense too. And the Mavs offense is still coming around. It's going to get better now that Porzingis is back, but it's not 100% there. So I'm going to be realistic, but I'm going to hold out hope. And I think the Mavs can keep it competitive because with Luka, anything is possible. But I just don't know about this one, guys. To be honest with you. And if you're mad at me, that's okay. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Are the Mavs going to win? Are the Mavs going to lose? If you're a loyal subscriber, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you like this video. I just hit 2,000 subscribers, which is honestly just insane that I was able to hit 2,000 so freaking fast. But I want to continue to grow. So tell your friends, tell your family. If you're not subscribed, subscribe today. If you are subscribed, hit that notification bell. And as always, go Mavs, baby.